We're back. Code Geass, episode 21. Last episode was the battle for Kyushu, where we were focused on the internal battle of Suzaku and Suzaku's past.
Don't be naive. Zero. I really do think that Styles is a good leader. From what we've seen.
From what we've seen, he's definitely, as you've said it 2 episodes ago even, but yeah, he's definitely, of what we've seen, embodies. Actually, he's even, we didn't touch on it, but he actually, last episode, we got to see that he's actually the Prime Minister of Britannia. So even though he's the second prince, not the first prince, which actually in some sense makes sense, because what you'd said, like, if you're not the one, you have to have other things going for you.
Yeah.
So since he's not the first prince, who would be the one in line to take over as emperor, he's done other things, like be the prime minister.
Yep.
So I guess you have to be a good leader if you're the prime minister.
Yes. Yeah.
Or insert your own country here and just assume I'm talking about yours.
Oh, rough. Sorry, guys.
Our country doesn't have a prime minister, so it's okay. Well, in this alternate universe, Bramerica does.
Bramerica. Is that an America run by bros and fraternities? Bramerica. Dude, do a keg stand. Woo! Episode 21. We are...
That's not going to be in there. Yeah. Episode 21.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm ready for it. Let's start the episode in 3, 2, 1. Ding! I hope you put the numbers up there, the countdown numbers.
Situations evolve. Our desires have no bearing on that. Time flows on, unaffected by our struggles. On this point, Lelouch should be pleased, for he possesses true self-determination. He can change destiny itself by applying the absolute power to compel anyone to obey him. The power of Geass.
I think I would like to own a railgun.
Good luck with that. What would you do target practice against with it?
Squirrels.
Okay. All right.
Guys, I know I haven't said this. I didn't say this last episode at least, but I'm really funny. Maybe not to anybody else, but I make myself laugh all the time. That's why I have such a good life.
Oh yeah, last episode, I command you to love me. That was the last episode too.
Well, love has to be a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So, we didn't even get into that.
Oh yeah, well. It's not been a pressing theme of the show.
Choice? Allowing people to have choice?
Well, I meant love, but fair enough.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a theme. This is like a lot whether or not people should have choices. Free will. And subverting it.
Yes,
the school festival declaration.
By the Chinese Federation and the terrorism of the Black Knights have disrupted our society. But that is a completely separate issue. The fact remains that you've both been absent from class far too often.
I'm telling you,
attention!
Zero's our savior! Even 11s can move up in the world. Just look at Suzaku Kururugi.
If it hadn't been for Zero, the Chinese Federation would have conquered Kyushu.
That isn't what it said on the news.
Cause the Britannians control the media.
I don't like the filter on the background.
That was a really weird filter, yeah.
Yeah.
So opinions in the ghettos are split?
Some are submissive, some are defiant.
But they'll all be shocked when they find out Zero's goal is to start an independent nation.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for waiting! The Ashford Academy School Festival, which is the most open event in the Tokyo South.
Yeah, I've just had 3 different realizations of remembering things now.
This voice!
Did she just meow?
Flashbacks to episode 6.
School was really noisy today.
So even Sawasaki and the others turned out to be useful. We've covered all the tasks at hand.
Yes, we gathered all the sector data on the emergency countermeasures that they left behind.
The press?
We've identified the solar panels used in each settlement as well as the energy storage sites. Oh, and what about that collaborator issue?
I've handled most of it myself. About 72% is complete. And Toto?
He's drawing up a list of occupation targets, broadcasting stations and such. I need you to check them, including the dummy plans we're sending to Kyoto.
I understand. I'll confirm tomorrow.
It was 2 meters wide up through last year. Then suddenly you declared we had to have a 12-meter pizza.
Uh-huh. Isn't it great? It's gonna be the largest one of its kind in the world.
Just the oven and the ingredients are causing an uproar. And now there's a TV crew running around campus. You know we can't show our faces.
But we have to document making the pizza.
12-meter pizza?
Wow, you're in a sunny mood.
It's a massive pizza.
I'm into that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, last episode, Nina got a gift from Lloyd.
Here we are.
Is something wrong?
No, I used to be a school teacher, so I was feeling a little nostalgic.
Why did you stop teaching?
My best friend since we were little kids. Well, he's since passed on. You could say that I'm living out his dream in his place. It's kind of a heavy thing for me to carry around.
That's a relief. I thought you were never going to come back to school.
It's on purpose? Why didn't you tell anyone about who I really am?
You're Colin Stotfeld right now, aren't you? Not Colin Kozuki, right?
Something's different about you.
Soldiers, how peaceful the world is.
Say, aren't you Suzaku's friend? Hey, you. Huh? Boy, where am I supposed to go to eat the biggest pizza in the world? Oh, so you're here.
Good work getting them here from Area 18 in one night.
You
Your
boy.
forces are impressive, Cornelia.
You flatter me. The Glaston Knights who are standing by in the homeland have joined us here, and that means
what a terrible
we
visor.
have Sattva for the Glosters.
I understand.
Doesn't look
and
comfortable.
I'm going to play this card in my negotiations with the Chinese Federation.
Please do.
What a great honor. Being asked for assistance by Princess Cornelia, who is unmatched on the battlefield.
Please don't tease me about this.
But I'm sincere. On the field of combat, you shine more beautifully and brightly than any flower or butterfly at a soiree. Yes, like the Flash herself.
Please stop saying that. You know I'm only...
A couple of throwaway lines, but the Flash was Marianne's nickname.
Got it.
That's why she was blushing so much about that.
I'm not going to deceive you over a pizza. The military and the press are here. What if they see you?
I'll wear a disguise. I don't like cold pizza.
Right now, I have a school festival and a coup d'etat to
Cold
run.
pizza's fine. If it was well made.
Oh, that's my fault.
God, cold pizza the next morning for lunch?
What's your name?
That can be amazing.
All right, any moment! We are about to begin the historic task of the making of the world's largest pizza. Please note that this contraption at my feet is an oven specially built for this occasion. A fabulous waste of money!
Yes, I understand, Shirley. I promise I'll make time for
It'd need to be a big ceramic plate that's evenly heated.
Right. This feels so easy. If I make a mistake here, no one's life is on the line.
Not bad. Got everything on schedule, huh?
I've learned to manage people lately. Still, they seem so optimistic, don't they? The Chinese Federation attacked just the other day. Yet look at everyone.
That's why we need this. Festivals are necessary. For everyone, all the time. You still need to learn a bit more.
Okay, lesson learned.
Lelouch!
Nonnally, how's the pizza?
It looks like the ingredients are all prepared! Now, introducing our special dough tosser, the Ashford family Ganymede! Yes, it's a bit of an antique. However, at the controls is the Student Council's special member and Princess Euphemia's personal knight, Suzaku Kururugi!
They have a mech to make the dough.
Is that because of... It's an open festival after all, and this is Suzaku's school.
Gotta toss the dough.
Yes, Suzaku's...
How would you toss 12-meter pizza dough?
I see.
Ganymede, a third
I would just eat it.
The type used by Lady
Raw.
Marianne the Flash, isn't that correct?
Come on, Sir Suzaku! We've got high hopes for you!
Last year, it was my turn to do it. But I can't compare to a real pro.
This is a day of sweet surprises.
They make 12-meter pizzas.
So close all this time.
I think he said it was 3 or 5 last year.
What is that guy doing? This is no time to be hitting on some flirty girl. Lelouch! Is that Princess Euphemia?
Princess Euphemia?
Okay.
It's her! Princess Euphemia!
Hats off.
Princess Euphemia? Lelouch, take Natalie away!
And the media's here too.
That's right. The sub-viceroy is near the main entrance.
I copy. I'll send in the backup team.
Camera, get a link to the
Girl
studio.
marking the wall again.
All right. Princess Euphemia's here. No way. Why?
Where is she?
Everyone stop! Don't run! Please don't panic!
Pizza.
The real tragedy of the episode.
Looks like we wasted the equipment space inside the news van. There's no need for the captain of the Zero Squad to escape now either. I'd like you to continue to stay undercover here in the settlement. I'll introduce you to Zero later on.
I understand.
Oh, wow. Princess Euphemia, you're not hurt, are you?
I'm fine. Thank you, Suzaku.
Are you okay, Nanalie?
Yes. How about Euphemia?
She's all right. Suzaku's taking care of her.
I see. Thank heavens. They're all right.
Princess Euphemia down here! Can I get a statement, please?
Could you please network this broadcast nationwide?
Huh? You mean go live now?
Euphy?
I have a very important announcement.
Your Highness, it's Princess Euphemia!
What's she doing now?
And we go to our special live coverage.
I am Euphemia, Sub-Viceroy of Area 11 of the Holy Britannian Empire. I, Euphemia Lee Britannia, hereby declare the formation of the specially administrated zone of Japan in the area surrounding Mount Fuji.
What? Britannia has... They're recognizing Japan?
Damn it! I never thought of this scheme, even though it's only in a limited area.
Within the specially administrated zone of Japan, 11s will be permitted to call themselves Japanese. Restrictions against 11s and special rights for Britannians will no longer exist within this zone. It will be a place where 11s and Britannians live side by side as equals.
Stop this, Yuffie. I already thought through every detail of that scenario.
Do you hear me, Zero? I don't care about your past nor who you are underneath that mask. I beg you, join us in creating this special zone of freedom.
What is she doing?
Zero, help me build a new future within Britannia, a place for everyone!
I'm finished. Either way I go, the Black Knights will break apart over this. The reason we exist has vanished. How could this have happened so easily? You think you can just take it all away from me like this? Even if it is a place where we can be ourselves, you know nothing. You understand nothing. I am the terrorist who hides his face. And you...
Lelouch, now it can be like before.
No, the past is dead and gone. Euphemia!
They call themselves a terrorist, so that's interesting.
The past is dead and gone.
We did say last episode that people should just put their past behind them. Move on. Kind of a bummer for him, though, because his entire organization's built on something that was just proposed.
Sort of.
That sucks.
In a limited area, but
Yeah.
She's made everybody angry. She's made Zero angry. She's made her sister angry. She's made a mixture of the Black Knights and a mixture of Britannians angry.
No, Schneisel's good.
Yeah, Schneisel's like, this is a great
he's fine.
idea.
He's fine.
But I mean, like, he probably thought it was a great idea for exactly why Lelouch hates it. Knowing
That's
his
gonna make
intelligence
the
and
next
leaderness.
4 episodes interesting.
Yes, it could.
Well, it will.
Yes, most likely. But let's talk about what really matters. No 12-meter pizza. Yeah, no 12-meter pizza.
Saw that coming.
Yeah, I know. I'm too transparent with my setup. Yeah.
Let's talk about I am hungry, so that's fine.
I am too. Maybe we should get pizza after this.
Let's not.
Well, I'm going to eat a pizza. Throw one right in the oven. You can buy them and store them in your freezer.
Okay. He called himself... Nope.
Oh, well, go ahead. You go first.
Still want to talk about the fact that he called himself a terrorist.
Oh, we can hit that because we're going to talk about one of the terrorists' subordinates, his deputy commander, Ogi, deputy commander of the Black Knights, used to be a school teacher.
Yeah.
I find something about that incredibly fascinating, but I don't have much more to say on it.
It reminds me of Tom Hanks' character in Saving Private Ryan.
Yes. Yes. What was it? History? Social studies. That's what it was. Social studies.
Used to be a school teacher. Can't go back to it, though. Once you step into war, that's it.
He'd also said that he kind of has been doing the rebellion thing, kind of as picking up the dream of a friend who, based on pieces scattered throughout the series, I believe was Naota, Colin's older brother, who's dead. Based on the fact that I remember really early on in the series, there was a picture with Colin, Ogi, and somebody we haven't seen before.
Okay, yeah.
I think is
it's
Naota.
entirely possible.
So that's what I think. That's my thoughts, which is interesting, I think, to think about in the sense of how I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong about this, but I have a feeling Naota died before Callan and her mother were kind of reincorporated into the Stotfield family and her kind of being legitimized and not being a bastard, but kind of like, oh, she's my legitimate daughter from this other woman who I have a legal marriage with and sort of thing. So I'm wondering, I could be wrong. I don't think they give us a time frame of when that happens, but I'm curious. I'm curious about that.
We saw an answer to Callan and Suzaku.
I don't know what I think about how that was handled and Suzaku's thoughts about, hey, here's this known terrorist leader of the Zero Squad.
It seems very different.
And he's kept quiet about the whole thing. Like, I can think of good reasons for Yuffie to be quiet about her knowing who Zero is. I can see, for her, that makes sense. Unless you can think of something else, I can't think of a good reason why Suzaku would do this.
He's had a change of heart. He sees it as a game. Like
how Lelouch sees all of it as a game?
Yeah. Like, the kid characters of this show haven't put a lot of weight into the people that have died. Lelouch had to a little bit because he killed someone's father. But then he kind of trickled off and it's like, well, yeah, people die.
Right. He's he had that moment of trying to resolve it. And yeah, then he got past it. Now it's just a thing.
Yeah. And I think C2 warned him about that, if I remember correctly.
You mean like a disassociatedness, or what do you mean by warning him about that?
Just like, I can't remember exactly what she said. It was in that same episode, though.
Well, because I remember one of the things she'd said at one point was keep those that you care about at a distance. And it's like, is that from experience? He's like, no, it's just a way of life.
They also made a new deal.
Okay, you mean okay, I'm trying to think of what it is you're referencing.
No, that's a different thought.
I know what you mean about the deal. I mean, what you meant earlier about people dying and her saying something about that.
I can't remember what she said. Basically, like, you're seeing the consequences of your actions.
That you've done all of this before, and now you're finally seeing it. Like,
yeah,
come on.
I think that's what she said.
Okay, were you really?
Yeah.
Okay, you're talking about that interaction.
Yeah, where she's
like, "Are you really that dumb little boy?"
Yeah,
with a big head and
yeah.
Okay,
yeah. And it's like none of these characters really have experienced the death side of it because not really anybody on their team has died that we're aware of.
Mm-hmm. Right, Lelouch is doing all of this it's interesting because I feel like here at this part we're actually seeing a bit more in the sense that he really is doing a lot of this. He's using his sister to justify, but I also do think he really does care about Nunnally, and he is genuinely doing this with the thought that it would be for her sake.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of the personal emotions with him and his father and him and his mother and all of that sort of stuff. But we heard Nunnally explicitly say what you'd saying the whole time. She's like, she just wants to be with you, Lelouch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Japan now exists now. So,
the specially administrated zone of Japan shall be established around Mount Fuji.
Yeah.
This Sakura
Guess we'll
mines.
see what happens. Love is choice.
Well, there are two. Love is choice?
No, you can say whatever you...
Oh, well, a small note. Sayako, Lelouch's and Nanali's maid.
Yeah.
Who is a sworn, who's basic, you know, in that kind of a situation, you kind of swear some type of, not maybe swear loyalty, but you have an allegiance to your master family. And now she's also kind of, in some way, sort of like splitting her allegiances. I mean, she doesn't know that they're one and the same person.
Right.
But she's sort of splitting her allegiances there in a way. But something I think is far more important than all of that was something Millie had said, who is she's a nice contradiction of personal shallowness, but also having wisdom for other people, you know? Not
do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, she's got a little bit of that. But one thing she said that I think was really great was the importance of festivals and the need to celebrate and just like, you know, enjoy the company of those around you and good fellowship, if you will.
Yeah.
And
it takes your mind off stuff. Enjoying the present life.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say necessarily takes your mind off the bad things, but I mean just the idea of celebrating the good things in the company of those around you.
Gratitude. Gratitude is your greatest weapon in life.
And so you're saying love is a choice.
Love is a choice. So choice in regards to Code Geass as a show are contradictory in some senses because Geass overrides choice.
Mm-hmm.
I think we talked about in some earlier episode.
We had said something about it. I know you were like being hit with a lot more depth of a revelation that comes with like the sadistic nature of subverting a person's free will.
Right. It's like, it's basically rape of the will.
Yeah, of the mind, of the...
It's not just the mind, it's just the will.
It's a very fundamental violation of a person's sovereignty. I guess if you're a religious person, you could say a person's divinity even, but just, you know, what makes you valuable and what makes you you.
Well, not valuable, but
okay, fine.
That's why it's like rape of the will, because the will is the governing thing. Sovereignty is a really good choice of word. It's rape of sovereignty. Because it's removing all power from you and forcing yours on them. And then we encounter briefly, you know, love is a choice in this episode. Last episode from the recap. Or she said sorry.
Oh yeah, I command you to love me. Yeah,
I command you to love me.
Yeah, okay. Right, last episode with,
and it's like, well, that's not how love works. So this is an additional idea of I command you to love me. Well, love is a choice and love is a willingness to lay yourself down. A domineering relationship is I command you to love me. They have fetishes for that. Now, I believe that people would probably retort with something like, well, she's conveying her love for him. It's like, no, she's using her position of power to demand that he love her. Yes, I believe she likes him. But she's still using her position of power, which is the exact same situation as using Geass. Except that the person's will is not subverted forcibly. It's subverted through the architecture of society. Because she's a princess and he's a subordinate.
I was in thought for a moment wondering if it was a change in translation, but no, I think it's an accurate translation based off of my vague lack of memory of the specifics. So I'm pretty sure, I'm like 99% sure that was an accurate translation they used. So
It's just really interesting.
I think it's interesting because it was definitely something that I'm pretty sure was written to meant to be sort of cute. But it's interesting taking it taking it straight face of what it's being said. Like, yeah, that's actually you're very on point with that of.
And that's honestly, this is the thing about pop culture and this, or culture in general. The things that we ingest media wise, if you look at some pop songs, they're just terrible. The lyrics, and I'm not talking about superficial. Like, I'm talking downright. They're bad.
Oh yeah, I mean,
like the lyrical content that we sing along to. Maybe you don't, but I do.
You've heard that Bo Burnham song "Kill Yourself," right?
Probably.
Yeah, it's just like if you're looking for like life lessons in Katy Perry's lyrics, and you should go kill yourself. This is the whole point of like, don't go to pop songs and stuff where how lessons on living.
But people have all these problems with society, like all these things. Guys, if you listen to a pop song, that's not demonizing, diminishing women.
Mm-hmm.
If you listen to hip hop today, that only diminishes women. You're part of the problem. If you listen to music today that, I'm focusing on music, but it could be, it's movies, it's TV shows, it's everything. There are lines that are like, I command you to love me. And like, oh, yeah, oh. No. Like, the second that you let that slide past your truth barrier is the second that you're agreeing with something that's actually evil. To force someone to love you, like, in this instance, it's like, yes, this person likes, but it's like they're in a position of power.
So there's like three different things.
There's like a lot of things.
Yeah, there's three different things, but I think one of the things that I'd want to point out is to note the difference, though. Like, there's a difference between acknowledging that something exists and condoning something. So there's a difference between that. So, like, I guess I'm trying to, it depends on what it is that you sort of meant when you started talking about like letting something pass your barrier. You're like, yeah, okay, with it. Because like, you use an example of I command you to love me. It's like, I can be like, oh, okay. And still like not be like, yes. I can still be, oh, okay. And still not approve of that sort of, just using that as an example. Maybe not the best example, but it's there. So
I would say the difference between acknowledging and agreeing, it kind of comes like this. Blink-182 is a really good example of this. They've got a lot of songs that I grew up with that I used to sing along to.
Yeah.
And a quarter of them, a quarter of them are about banging chicks, and one of the most popular is, called your mom from a payphone, the state looks down on sodomy, because his girlfriend broke up with him, so he calls to harass it. Like, that's all selfishness. Like, it's like harassing her parents, but he just got done, like, I turned the TV on, my pants around my ankles, and like she left and whatever. Like, and then it gets into, I called her mother from the payphone. The state looks down on sodomy. Blah blah blah. But it's like most of their lyrical content is about partying and banging chicks and like using women. Once I acknowledged that, I can't, like, it's got a strong tie of nostalgia to it for me.
Yeah.
Growing up. But if I'm like, oh, I think I'm going to go listen to it, I start listening to it, I'm like, man, I can't listen to it anymore.
You can't get past the new revelation anymore.
Yeah. It's like, I can't listen to this. And so, like, I simply can't listen to a bunch of things that I grew up with.
People's tastes change over time.
It's not, the issue isn't taste.
Right, well, in some way it is,
but truth. The issue is agreeing with, this is the difference between agreement and an acknowledgement. Like, I acknowledge that this is a problem. Therefore, I can't intake the media.
Does
that make sense?
I'm trying to think of something that we've both
It's not a clear line.
Right, I'm trying to think of something that we can both reference that I can point to as an example, and I can't think of anything at the moment. Like, my first thought is to something you haven't seen, which is like the story in Gunslinger Girl about how they take of these young girls from orphanages, turn them into killing machine cyborgs. It's
Sure.
like, this is clearly wrong.
Right.
I can still watch it and enjoy the story.
Right. Yeah, it's still
That's
about
told.
a person developing based on the circumstances they're put in. Like, that's fine.
I'm sure there's a better example, but that's the first thing that popped in my head.
This is literally the conversation we had a minute ago when we were downloading the data about, like, you asked me, why do I like story? And it's like, well, I get to experience another life and their decisions. Most of the times I don't agree with them. And I was explaining to him how I've read a variety of young adult fiction. It's really teen fiction. And I just like, I'm a 30-year-old man, so like definitely not going to engage with the character. Yeah. But then he was like, well, what do you like about the characters? But this is like, there's not a problem with like watching it necessarily. Like, I haven't seen it, but Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either, but yeah.
What's that movie about the drugs? Requiem for a Dream.
I haven't seen that one either, but
that's a really great film to watch to get kids to not do drugs and to realize that drugs aren't the only thing that are like drugs. Like watching your Jeopardy or your game show every day, like being in the system and not thinking for yourself. Not to say like be rebellious and everything, but like just because it's a hard drug doesn't mean that it's not, or just because something's not a hard drug doesn't mean it's not a drug. And then the end scene of that movie is unforgettable. It's grotesque.
I've heard, not seen it,
but you don't need to watch it a second time.
That's how I felt about Devilman Crybaby.
Right. There are some things that you just need to be like, okay, I have taken the emotional journey with this set of characters in this story, and it's strong enough of a content, or like strong enough content that you don't need to watch this.
Like Attack on Titan might be another example. I really enjoyed it. I'm not going to watch it a second time. I'll maybe watch, if there's new stuff, I might watch the new stuff, but like I don't feel any, because I want to see how the story continues, but I don't feel a desire to rewatch some of the stuff just because of how unpleasant some of it is. So it's like so there, I mean, so
and so there's like, we have these ranges with ourselves as people, like, well, I'm not going to rewatch Requiem for a Dream. I have no need to. And so like, that's a line that I have in my life, because I acknowledge like, yes, this is good information of like, don't do drugs, think for yourself, and like the things. I don't remember the details of the story. I will not forget the last scene.
Right.
It's the depravity of humanity. Right.
Sort of like
there's a line that I don't need to go back and watch.
That animated film that Seth Rogen made, Sausage Party.
Never seen it, but
I've seen it. It was weird, partially, mostly enjoyable. But then the last, like, it was actually really enjoyable. But then the last scene happened. It was just like, yeah, okay, well, I could spend my life scrubbing that out of my brain.
But and that's just the thing, like getting back to the start of this thread is, what's the difference between acknowledging and agreeing? It's black and white, but it's not. Does that make sense? Like Blink-182, Requiem for a Dream, Sausage Party, these things, like there are bounds in which people break the borders of culture to go beyond, to push the limits. Which is why you can look back at the 50s and see like, well, what wasn't allowed back then versus what's not allowed today, or like what's frowned upon. Like the borders continually get pushed because people push the borders, but eventually there's nothing to push. And so not everything's beneficial for us in life.
Well, it's where you need a counterforce to push the other way, and then with the two forces against each other, you'll find that balance somewhere eventually.
That's highly optimistic of you.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying, like, I'm not saying it exists. I'm saying that it needs to exist if it doesn't. That's, there's a difference there, but yeah.
So I don't think there's a clear ABC about acknowledgement versus agreement.
I would agree that in anything, it's always based on the individual context of
I think
each
acknowledgement
thing
teaches us, I think, and this is my experience, but I believe that acknowledgement dictates that you don't partake of the thing again. Because you have the revelation.
Mm.
And agreement is partaking in it. Like, you can go through it once, and you realize, like, oh, hey, this isn't really good for my soul. It's not good for my emotional well-being. Like, it literally doesn't promote life and life abundant in my life. And you can go through it once, and you're like, okay, that's human depravity.
Mm-hmm.
That's pushing the borders for absolutely no reason. There's no benefit here.
Mm-hmm.
No benefit here.
So which of our characters is pushing that sort of thing, and which of our characters are seeking something more?
Yes.
Yes.
Each of the characters has a why behind their life.
Mm-hmm.
So each of the characters applies to the seeking more part in their own perception.
Right.
Although some of them deceived.
Yeah. Some of them deceived and some of them misguided.
We've never seen the full perspective of any of the royal family. We've only seen their reaction to everything for 21 episodes.
Right, because we don't see it from their perspective fully.
Right.
Lelouch is
it's
the one.
It's a limited perspective.
Lelouch is the perspective that we see things from. So like Cornelia, she idolizes Lelouch's mother, and yes, she's very clearly a tyrannical, racist military general for this overarching empire, but yet she also wants to avenge the deaths of Lelouch and not only who she sees as dead, Marianne and Clovis. And so she has obviously good things about her in some ways. You could argue that, you know...
Right. Because every bad character, every like bad guy in a movie that we really, really love, we humanize.
Right.
That's why we love the Joker.
Yeah.
He's humanized. Like that line about like, let me tell you how I got my scars, and then we get multiple stories on that. Spoiler alert, sorry. If you haven't seen it, your fault. Humanizes him. Because the different stories he tells give us a different past of his. Like, and so we come to the justification that, oh, this person was traumatized as a child. And that's all we need to know. And so now this person's humanized, and they're not a monster. Because we kill people when they're monsters. It's why we turn people into monsters.
Something has led him into wanting to just, you know, take the world down with him as he has fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So your question of who's living for more, or who's living for the I don't remember the other side.
Yeah,
of the question.
they all are and they all aren't.
Right.
Basically.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we can pick one and we can talk about them, but with the way that the story's spelled out and the fact that these characters have some depth,
not quite hit it. We've not quite hit the midpoint too. So there's
except for Nina. Nina's living for nothing.
Do you see her? I think you're taking a note. She had when Yuffie was making her declaration. The school festival declaration. I'm sorry. That was bad. She just had the most just like horrified face on her.
But even Nina's living for something, that was just a slight...
I know.
Like, we don't have enough time with her as a character either.
Right. Her character arc has been, she's a hyper-intelligent, very racist person who has no self-esteem.
Yeah.
That's been...
It's like 2 dimensions of charactership. And I don't think that there's only 3 dimensions in a charactership. I think there's, you know, like Lelouch probably has 17 dimensions that we've gone through so far.
Yeah.
Some of them still around, some of them still not. But that's the thing about side characters. You can't give them the attention that they need. So
Rivel, for example, he is basically the epitome of the beta male useless sidekick character.
Yeah. We see him in first episode with driving Lelouch around.
Who's literally the sidekick.
Yes.
And now he's not even sidekick anymore.
Right. So, yeah, all of them and none of them.
Okay. Gosh, we went on some very weird tangents there, but you know, that's par for the course at this point.
It's a golf reference.
Yes, it's a golf reference. So confused. All right, so yeah, declaration. Japan exists directly screws over Lelouch and his plans.
I don't know if it actually
stands for.
exists yet.
It's been declared as something that is going to exist.
And Schnizel's on board.
Yeah, and Schnizel's on board. The Prime Minister of Britannia has given it his stamp of approval. Although maybe not literally stamp, he's given a verbal stamp of approval.
Right. And he's not the type of leader to simply say something to get someone off his back. From what we've seen. So, stay tuned. Next time. 22.
Episode 22 next week. I'm excited.
I have no idea what's coming.
Awesome.